On the evening of October the 7th, the White House Chief of Staff, Walter Jenkins, left his office at the end of an 18-hour day and walked to the nearby YMCA. There, he was caught in a lavatory with another man and arrested on a morals charge. 30 years ago, it didn't do to be gay, certainly not in high places. Jenkins was not only one of the few who'd seen the FBI files on Dr. King. For years, he'd been the keeper of Johnson's personal secrets, as well as weighty matters of state, and he could have been open to blackmail. Lyndon Johnson was always inclined to panic at election time. Promptly, he accepted Jenkins' resignation. But to Lady Bird Johnson, a compassionate woman who was campaigning on her own in the Midwest, they were abandoning a close family friend.
Go ahead, please.
Darling, when questioned, and I will be questioned, I'm going to say that this is incredible for a man that I've known all these years. It can only be a nervous breakdown.
I wouldn't say anything because it's not something for you to get involved in now.
All right. I think if we don't express some support to him, I think that we will lose the entire love and devotion of all the people who have been with us.
Talk to Ms. Jenkins.
All right. She's called me this morning, honey.
Yes, what'd she say?
She is so hysterical and so bitter. It's dreadful. She feels that her life is ruined, that their life is ruined, and it's all been laid on the altar of working for us.
Was she angry with us?
Yes. My poor darling, my heart breaks for you, too. My love, my love. I pray for you along with Walter. Goodbye, beloved.
Over in California, the president's Republican opponent, Senator Barry Goldwater, saw the opening Johnson feared. He accused the president of knowingly employing a homosexual in one of the most sensitive posts in Washington.
Ladies and gentlemen, ordinarily, a man with Mr. Jenkins' background would have been seriously considered as ineligible for clearance to deal with the most vital secrets of our nation. We Republicans did not create the issue. The man who now occupies the White House raised this issue all by himself by lowering the standards of the highest office in the land.
And when other Republicans floated the story that a second homosexual was hiding in Johnson's cabinet, the president rang America's chief law enforcement officer to ask him how to spot closet homosexuals.
I guess you're going to have to teach me something about this stuff. I swear I can't recognize them. I don't know anything about it.
It's a thing that you just can't tell. And there are some people who walk kind of funny and so forth that you might kind of think are a little bit off and maybe queer, but there was no indication of that in Jenkins' case. I've thought of all the cabinet officers that we have, but there are none of them that raise any suspicion in my mind.
None in mine.
But to be on the safe side, the president asked Hoover to check on the administration's most senior men for signs of sexual deviation.
If this thing comes out on Tuesday, you might give some thought to what we ought to do with all secretaries and undersecretaries and assistant secretaries. And I rather think that you ought to take everybody from me right on down.
All right, I'll be very glad, Mr. President.
Thank you.
These were busy times for Hoover. The news now broke that Martin Luther King had won the world's most prestigious honor, the Nobel Peace Prize. That drove Hoover into a frenzy. The FBI's Domestic Intelligence Division now prepared a book entitled Martin Luther King, Jr., His Personal Conduct. A copy was sent to Bill Moyers, the President's Deputy Chief of Staff, with a letter asking permission to send the book to members of the Cabinet. Moyers agreed. Copies were sent to the Secretary of State, Dean Rusk, to Robert McNamara at the Pentagon, and to John McCone, the director of the CIA. But Hoover wanted to share his files on King with the public. He ordered his staff to use their contacts in the press to get the story out. One such contact was the chief Washington correspondent of the Los Angeles Times, David Kraslow.
He told me that Dr. King was a notorious womanizer and that he'd had a number of sexual escapades and that the Bureau had proof of this And he says, well, let me read you a portion of one of these tapes. And he began to read from a transcript. The raunchiness is beyond description. What shocked to me was I knew that he was high enough up in the hierarchy of the Bureau that this could not have been done without Hoover's blessing. It was despicable. It's none of their business.
No reporter would touch the story. By now, the countdown to polling day had begun, and the Jenkins affair was robbing the president of sleep. Filled with worry and self-pity, he telephoned his spiritual advisor, Billy Graham.
Dr. Graham on 9-1.
Hello, Billy. How are you, my friend?
Well, God bless you. Last night I couldn't sleep, and I got on my knees and prayed for you that the Lord would just give you strength.
I told my sweet wife last night we got mental telepathy. I said if I didn't think I'd embarrass him, I'd say, please, dear Lord, I need you more than every day of my life.
You know, when Jesus dealt with people with moral problems, like dear Walter had, and I wanted to send my love and sympathy to him.
Thank you.
He always dealt tender, always.
Well,
this was the way he handled it.
Come down here Saturday evening and have dinner with us, and let's have a quiet visit, and maybe have a little service Sunday morning in the White House itself.
Well, I'll be very happy to.
We'll just have a good visit, and I'll feel stronger next week.
Well, God bless you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Johnson felt a great deal stronger when Edgar Hoover, instead of offering prayers, delivered the goods. An FBI report cleared the president of any suspicion of carelessness and was duly leaked to the press.
Mr. Hoover on 2383.
Hello? Edgar? Yes, Mr. President. I thought that you did a very thorough and very fine job. I'm very grateful for your thoroughness and your patriotism and the way you've handled it, as I am everything else you've ever done.
Of course, I realize it's not just you've been in and the terrible other burdens you've had, and it's awful to have this thing happen. But I think we handled it with compassion, and I think the man is a desperately ill man.
Yes, you're a compassionate man, an understanding man, and
from the Bible, you know, be careful about throwing the first stone lest you have sinned yourself.
You know, Billy Graham called me and said, just remember this, always be compassionate, but do your duty.
Well, of course, there's so damn many hypocrites, you know.
That's right.
In the press in this country.
That's right.
You're just like vultures.
You just remember, my friend, I'm prouder of you now than I've ever been before, but I've known for 30 years that there's nobody like you, and as long as I'm around here, you got to stay pretty close.
Well, I can.
That's okay, my friend.
Fine, thank you.
His own position strengthened by his helpful role in the Jenkins crisis, Hoover now returned to his attack on Dr. King. He invited 2 women reporters to his office for a background chat. He talked about the need for moral purity in public life, and then, stressing that his next remark was on the record, he called Dr. King the most notorious liar in the country. The remark appeared in print. When the news magazines picked up the story, at least one civil rights leader called for Hoover's resignation. King himself mildly protested that the FBI chief must be suffering from overwork. But on the telephone to a friend, King called Hoover senile. And when the FBI monitors put that in their logs, Hoover went public again in a barely coded speech in Chicago.
When man places himself above the law, he aids the communists' relentless effort to destroy the ideals of our civilization. The man who has no objective values by which he judges his actions, who allows his passions to run wild, unchecked by a moral standard of what is right, that man is surely risking the loss of his immortal soul.